Hey guys, it's me, Slayer Sparkles here. Welcome to my ghost story series, Growing Up Haunted. I did in fact grow up in a haunted house in a haunted town. I was always a very curious child, and I started having these experiences with ghosts when I was really little, because where I'm from, everyone has a ghost story. I wasn't sure what story to tell you first. I kind of wanted to start with something lighter, but I changed my mind. So the story I'm going to tell you about today happened when I was in my mid-teens. I already had like a little bit of a reputation for ghost hunting. This friend of my mother's had just moved into this new house. They had been experiencing a haunting. This house was not in the town I lived in. It was in an adjacent town. This town was very, very small. In fact, the house wasn't even in the town. I think it was sort of in between on this like long stretch of dirt road. It was an old farmhouse, so it was pretty isolated. So as we're driving up this long dirt road, I have this horrifying vision. It was so real. It was clearly something that had happened on the property, and it was a vision of this barn. And in the barn, there were people dressed, they were wearing like these black gowns. They weren't good people. And they were hanging all of these other people by their necks from the rafters. They were lighting these people on fire. I knew it was real because, well, it was a very strong vision, but it was real. It wasn't like a movie. It's a terrible, terrible process. Struggling and choking and your face turning color and eyes getting bulgy. It was terrible to see. So as we're driving up this road, I get this vision and I'm like really overwhelmed and crying. I mean, it was really horrifying and sad. And there was a man that had a black wide brimmed hat on. I could tell he was the leader of the coven. And he just felt evil. And I'm not religious. I use a lot of these terms kind of loosely. So if I say evil or spirit or whatever, like I'm not adhering to like any religious mythology or anything, but this person felt powerful, felt bad, felt cold and mean and bad and ill-intentioned and powerful and bloodthirsty, I guess. So I'm having this vision. We're driving up this road and then we turn onto the actual road that leads to the house. So this was like an old farmhouse. So there's this huge long dirt road, and then there was like a private road that led up to the actual house. So we turn onto that road and I'm still like being rocked by this vision, and I'm realizing like this is something that happened on this property and that whatever is haunting the house probably has something to do with it. I guess I'm pretty brave, but I was nervous because I've encountered some like mischievous spirits and whatnot, but this vision I had was scary. Like, I didn't even get a sense of why they were killing these other people. Like, it was just like, was it just like sacrificing people, or like I don't know. I didn't have a feeling about it. I had a feeling of murder, and that was like pretty much it. So we get to the house, we go into the kitchen. I'm feeling a little lightheaded at this point, but I sit down with this lady, we'll call her Kara, and I'm sitting with Kara, and her kids are gathered around, and they're telling me like about what's happened in the house so far. And I'm like asking them questions about stuff, and so they're telling me there is this white apparition that seems to occupy the house, that like flies around so there were 3 children. There was a little boy who was pretty young. I think maybe 7-ish, maybe around 7. There was a little girl who was a little bit older, maybe like 11 or 12. And then there was a teenage daughter and her boyfriend, I guess. I don't know if her boyfriend was like living there or if he just like stayed the night and stuff sometimes. He wasn't there, but they talked about him because I guess he had been grabbed by this thing. So the little boy saw it the most often. The little boy had seen it in the living room. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone else had only experienced this thing in like in the attic or the upstairs. The little boy had seen it in the living room more than once. It had turned the TV on and off. It may have communicated with him, but I don't remember what it said. But it definitely was more communicative with this child than anybody else. The teenage daughter, her boyfriend, had been upstairs in the attic with her. I don't know if their bedroom was up in the attic. They had the lights off, and he had been grabbed by the back of his like pajama pants and pulled. And he thought it was his girlfriend messing around, but it wasn't. It was this apparition, apparently, because his girlfriend wasn't anywhere near him. And he like yelled for her to, quit it or whatever. And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I believe the little boy had been grabbed upstairs as well. It seemed like the attic area and the upstairs were the strongholds of whatever this apparition was. The fact that this thing could grab people was concerning. Most ghosts that I am aware of can't grab people or move things physically. I mean, I've seen it plenty of times, but it's my understanding that that isn't just a standard ghost. Usually that's something a little more dangerous, a little more powerful, and it was being awfully bold to like grab people. I've seen apparitions that have moved furniture, spun lampshades around, rolled things across the floor, but I've rarely seen or heard of something that is bold enough to get physical with human beings. That was really concerning. Also, a number of them had seen it, maybe all of them had seen it at least upstairs in the attic area, maybe I think there were like a few floors, so maybe just upstairs as well. They described it as a white apparition that had like some detail to it. They described it as male, I think, and that it had a face. They were hoping I could talk to it. They were hoping that I could get rid of it, basically. I had a little bit of experience exorcising ghosts from houses. A little experience. But I was totally willing to try. Although after the vision I had on the way there and hearing them talk about it and feeling what I felt in the house, it definitely seemed like maybe something more powerful than I had dealt with in the past. I did tell Kara about the vision I had on the way to the house. I told her that I felt that there had been some kind of coven, some kind of, black magic coven or something that had killed a bunch of people in a barn, possibly as like a human sacrifice. I think I said that I thought it was more recent, but not like too recent, like maybe within the last 50 years or something. So I told Kara what I had seen. I told her what I sensed about it. And I believe she said that the area that we had driven past on the way there maybe had a different owner. After I left, she did some research into the property and she found that the plumbing between the two properties was linked and that at one time it had been one property or something like that. So that made sense. And she also found that there had been a known active coven in that area about 25 years before. So my vision checked out. There had been a known ill-intentioned coven there 25 years before. The properties had been one property or were one property. She was renting the place, so I guess maybe she just didn't realize that they were connected. So after we talked, I told them to go outside, and I steeled myself and I went to go talk to the ghost. So I figured it would be upstairs. I didn't feel it downstairs, but I definitely felt it in the house. I went over to the bottom of the stairs. I might have gotten up a couple of steps. It came to the top of the stairs. I couldn't really see it. It was daytime, but I could feel it. It was really strong. It was really powerful. It did not feel like something that I could exercise. And it yelled at me. It was like it was yelling inside of my head, but I could tell where it was coming from, if that makes sense. It was coming from the top of the stairs. It was in my head. It was loud. I felt really strongly that it was the leader of that coven that I had seen in my vision on the way there. For sure. It was a bad person, had the same exact energy. And it yelled at me. It yelled, "Get out." A whole bunch. Get out, get out, get out. And one other thing, blood. It was yelling, "Get out." And I think I asked it what it wanted. And it said blood. If you could just imagine a super scary freaking apparition that feels really strong and powerful yelling at you to get out of its house and telling you that it wants blood. That's what it was like. It was that. So I went outside. I talked to Kara and I said, "You should move." I mean, I just told her. I was like, dude, this thing is old. I think it was the leader of like a powerful cult that murdered people. It was screaming at me to get out of its house. Like, clearly it wants you to leave. And, well, it definitely wanted me to leave, but I think it wanted everyone to leave. And I asked what it wanted, and it said it wanted blood. And it said it loud, in big capital bloody letters. Blood. I don't want anyone living in a house with a creepy apparition that grabs people and wants blood. That's just a bad idea, right? So that was that. And guess what? She didn't move. She didn't move. She stayed there. And they didn't die, which is great. I don't know exactly what happened. I assume that the haunting continued. I mean, I do know that some bad stuff happened to their family. Their luck went way downhill. Like, one of the kids ended up in jail over and over again, and there was some other just bad stuff. And I remember seeing her like maybe a year later, and she was in terrible shape. Like, she looked sickly. She was like aggressive. She was sad. It was really weird. I can only imagine that like whatever this was feeding on them emotionally, at least. That's something that I know apparitions to do, to like feed on people's energy and emotions. So maybe it just wanted me to get out. Maybe it wanted them to stay there so it could feed on them. I don't know. But I was really sad that they didn't move. She did have 3 kids, and their lives didn't go very well moving forward, and they already were being grabbed and stuff when they had only been there like a month. So I can only imagine what happened after that. So let this be a lesson to all you folks out there. If a ghost grabs you and tells you to get out and says it wants your blood, you should probably leave. This is me, Slayer Sparkles, signing off. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay spoopy.